네, 이제부터 문장을 한번 외워볼게요. 일단 맥락부터 고치기 전에 마지막 문장의 번역 부분이 조금 어색한 부분이 있잖아요. 보면은 이것은 내가 사는 서울 전역에 걸쳐 몇 블록마다 멈춘다. 이 부분에서 마다 멈춘다가 아니고 내가 사는 서울 전역에 걸쳐서 몇 블록들마다 버스 정류장들이 있다. 이렇게 이해하는 거죠. 그리고 이거 외우려면은 빨리 외우는 방법이 일단 한국 인서로 시작하고 그 다음 얘기한 게 다양한 종류의 public transportation이 있다. 공공 교통수단이 있다. 그렇게 얘기한 다음에 예를 들어 그것은 많은 버스 시스템이 있다. 이렇게 얘기한 다음에 나에게 있어서 그것은 뭐다? 지하철을 사용한다. 그리고 또 처음과 foremost가 뭐죠? 가장 중요한 것은 지하철이 가장 편리하다는 거예요. 그런 의미거든요. 그래서 in Korea we have various types of public transportation. 그래서 in Korea we have various types of public transportation. For most, there are many bus systems. 한국에서 in Korea we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country. For example, there are bus systems throughout the country, and ah, several Korean cities have a state-of-the-art subway systems. 그래서, for example, there are many systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state-of-the-art state-of-the-art subway systems. 여기까지 하면은 한국에서 in Korea we have several types of 아니면 various types of public transportation. For example, 예를 들어 there are many 거기에는 많은 버스 시스템이 있습니다. throughout the country 그리고 and several Korean cities 가지고 있어요. have state-of-the-art 최신식의 서브웨이 시스템을 가지고 있습니다. 한국에서는 다양한 종류의 공공교통수단이 있고 예를 들면 거기에는 많은 버스 시스템이 있고요. 전역에 그 나라 전국에 걸쳐서 그리고 several Korean cities 한국의 여러 가지 도시들이 have 가지고 있습니다. state-of-the-art 최신식의 subway systems 하며 버스 시스템 얘기했고 subway 시스템 얘기했고 다시 in Korea we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country, and 그리고 several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway systems. Several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway system. As for me, I use the subway. I use the subway most frequently. As for me, I use the subway. As for me, I use the subway most frequently. As for me, I use subway most frequently. most frequently. 네, 다시. In Korea, we have various types of the public transportation. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country, and several types of several Korean cities have state-of-the-art bus subway system. As for me, I use the subway. 난 지하철 자주 이용해요. 가장 자주, most frequently. 여기까지. 다시 한 번 더. In Korea, there are we have many types of public transportation. For example, there are various types of bus systems, and several Korean cities have subway systems. State-of-the-art subway system. As for me, I use subway system. As for me, I use the subway most frequently. 다시 한 번 더. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. In Korea, we have many types of public transportation. For example, there are various types of. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country, and we have several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway systems. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, the subway is a very convenient. Subway is very convenient because it has stops. It has stops every 뭐뭐마다, a few blocks. Every few blocks. Throughout Seoul, where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops. Every few blocks. Throughout the Seoul where I live. 다시. 마지막 문장이 첫째는 first and foremost. The subway is very convenient. 대단히 편리하다. Because it has 그것은 stops 가지다 버스 정류장을. It has stops 마다 few blocks 몇 정류장마다. It has every few blocks throughout 서울의 전역에 걸쳐서 where I live 내가 사는 서울에. 그래서 throughout Seoul where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. First and foremost, the subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. 다시. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are many subways, bus systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state of the art subway systems. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, this subway is very convenient. Subway is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout the country, throughout the Seoul where I live. 그럼 다시 한번 더. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are several types of many subway systems, bus systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway systems. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, subway system is very convenient for me because it has stops every few blocks in Seoul, throughout Seoul where I live. 오, 조금 이제 익숙해졌다. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. As for me, for example, there are bus systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway system. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, but the subway system is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout the Seoul where I live. 네, 거의 다 외웠네요. 이번에 마지막으로 한번 외워보고 이 시간 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway systems. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, first and foremost, subway system is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout Seoul where I live. 마지막에 the subway is very convenient가 first and foremost 뒤에 붙을 때 쭉 하고 튀어나왔어야 되는데 제가 좀 머뭇머뭇 버렸네요. 한 번만 더 외워볼게요. 진짜 마지막이에요. 이제 진짜 준비하고 나가야 돼가지고 한 번만 더 진짜 외워보고 마무리 짓도록 하겠습니다. 자, 외워봅시다, 경희씨. 우리 화이팅! 힘내자! In Korea, we have many types of various types. 다시 한 번 더. In Korea, various types. 다시 한 번 더. In Korea, we have various types of public transportation. For example, there are many bus systems throughout the country, and several Korean cities have state-of-the-art subway systems. As for me, I use subway most frequently. First and foremost, subway system is very convenient because it has stops every few blocks throughout the Seoul where I live. 네, 여기까지 하겠습니다. 밖에서 또 소음이 막. 네, 오늘 여기까지 하고요. 여러분, 오늘도 좋은 하루 보내시고, 오늘 토요일이잖아요. 이렇게 또 주말 보내는 시간에 네이버 블로그, 출판사그래에 토익 복합 분석 스크립트도 보시면서 또 한자 해설 학습지도 이렇게 풀어보시면 한자를 이렇게 내가 쉽게 외울 수 있구나. 한자가 생각보다 이제 내가 의미를 부여하면서 쉽게 외울 수 있네? 너무 재밌다. 이렇게 느끼실 거예요. 제가 앞으로는 지금 인스타그램도 한번 개설해볼까 고민 중이거든요. 그래서 앞으로도 함께 영원히 중국어랑 영어 함께 공부해 나가는 우리 같은 같이 하는 러너가 되어보도록 합시다. 오늘도 열심히 공부하시고요. 저는 이만 물러가도록 하겠습니다. 네, 출판사 그래 라경인이었습니다. 감사합니다.